It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Here's the chairman of not one, but two majorly impactful initiatives and non-profit organizations, namely My Father's House and Missing Children SA, both doing absolutely vital work. He's also the host of a very popular game show that I think you might know. It is, yes, set on an island involving crazy challenges, and he's one of the best in the business. That's right, we are joined by TV presenter, actor, philanthropist, and just unbelievably nice guy, Nico Panagio!
Wow, what an incredible introduction.
Hey, he's hotter than
game show, reality show.
Reality
show.
It
Sorry,
is, and it
sorry
gets
to
real.
mix it up.
It gets very real. But you've made it. You've made that show, which is amazing to me. He's better looking in person, I told you, eh?
I know. I'm just like looking at you now and they keep saying like, Jamie, don't mess us up, don't mess us up. But it's so good to have you with us. Because you're family. Look at you. You're comfortable, you're chill, you're sitting here.
Yeah, this feels like home in crazy ways.
No, definitely. And I don't want to mess this up because, I mean, you're the chairman of the My Father's House initiative, particularly around the Southern Peninsula, Simonstown, where you feed approximately 1,000 people daily, 80% being children. Do tell us a bit more how you got involved in this and what it's all about.
Well, it started back in the first couple of weeks of the lockdown, the first lockdown, when we realized that, lockdown was quite a stress on most people. But the people who suffered immediately were those who live from hand to mouth. That night they went home, wondering how am I going to put food on the table. So essentially we found that there was a need very quickly on, and I was looking for an initiative to join, to try and do something, because after the first couple of weeks of sitting at home, you start feeling like you want to do something. And the only thing that made sense was joining with that. And I discovered this wonderful initiative that had already been underway, headed by Pastor Shadi and founded by the Father's House Church. And so we called it, at the time it was just a feeding scheme, and a year later we realized we're going to have to be around for a while. And then we started the My Father's House organization, the NPO. We put a board together and we started, and it's a community initiative. So we've got residents in and around the Southern Peninsula who, provide their time, they donate their time, their efforts, money, food. It's all individuals giving, from their hearts. And then we've got volunteers working to provide that food. And we feed up to 1,000 people a day. We've gone up to 3,000 people at one stage. We were feeding. It all depends where the need is and how it's been. In the second lockdown, we were feeding 3,500 people a day. So that's where it all started.
And I can see how proud it makes you. And I'm so glad that you've added this layer, because it's kind of our responsibility. And we realized we were joking about the strategic network around us. But, I mean, if you need to phone that big corporate to get the big bucks, you're the guy who's going to probably be able to kick down those doors. But working in the space myself, you kind of, every solution brings you 10 new challenges.
Yeah.
So you've got to involve the community. And you've got to start young and start with the youth. So I'm so proud of you for focusing on them, because a hungry child, their development is stunted for the rest of their life if they don't get that critical. But there is something else at play here. The idea of My Father's House kind of really resonates with me, and I'm sure it resonates with you. Why this focus on young people specifically? And of course, Youth Day is right around the corner. What are you hoping that you can do, and the message that you want to get out there over this time, man?
Well, that's a good question, because Graham, as a father, when you sit down at night with your kids and your family, with your wife, and whatever your situation might be, and your children are safe, and they're sitting in front of a plate of warm food, no matter what else is going on in the world, for that moment, everything's perfect. They're safe, they have food, and it's a wonderful feeling. So when you sit at home and you're eating a plate of food, and you know that you're part of an initiative that has provided a warm meal, at least one, cooked with love by people who really are there, devoting their time, for everyone around you. It is, in the Southern Peninsula and communities around us, you get a feeling that you're making a small impact. And what's great about that is many people, many hands have gone into making that impact. So everyone is part of that initiative in the community. 80% of our beneficiaries are children. Children in early childhood development centers that get a meal made with love. And it really does, it takes, we always say it takes a village, doesn't it? Mm. Not just to raise a child, but to keep them safe, to look after them, to help them grow. And so that's something that we're planning as well with My Father's House, is to have youth centers where kids from the communities can come, where they can have access to Wi-Fi, safe areas where they can learn, mentorship. And it's so important, as you say, to start at that age to build that foundation, because essentially that's what we struggle with in not just our country, countries around the world, is that lack of fathers, mothers, mentorship in the home.
I love it. You've created your village. You've gone out there to your actual village, and you said we need to be a village again, and let's feed our children.
Let me fix it. I didn't do it. I'm part of what other people have started, and it's a blessing to be able to serve there
done, man.
and work. And as I said, there's so many hands that go into this. During COVID, we were in the communities actually feeding the kids, and they would line up, these gorgeous children all lining up, and with their little buckets that they bring, and then we would stand there, and Pastor Shad and his family would cook these massive pots of delicious food. And then we would be the ones who stand there, and when we have a hand, we are the hands that pass it to the hands that will then eat it. But every bowl I passed, I knew someone chopped the carrots, someone cooked this, someone put that together, someone actually brought the ingredients to the game, and it just makes you feel so honored to be one of the hands that passes it on.
It means something to those kids, just the effort, seeing other people caring about them, that in itself is almost as important. Buddy, I know you're also involved with, obviously, Missing Children South Africa, which is a completely different thrust. So we're going to get into that in a moment, but I'm going to preach it out there, myfathershouse.org.za. If you'd like to make any donations, connect with this beautiful human being, connect with his network, and see if you can help in some small way, as he said, to make a massive difference. Please do it. He's not going anywhere.
Staying right here.
He's going to stay right next to you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, everybody. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We are back with TV presenter, actor, and philanthropist Nico Panagio. Early on, we chatted about the organizations that he's currently chairing, but now with Father's Day around the corner, we thought, you know what, we'd catch up with how he's been coping and managing with fatherhood, but we also wanted to speak about Missing Children's SA, which is also a part of the chairman, your chairman for that group as well. Tell us about that. What got you into that?
Well, Missing Children South Africa started about a decade and a half ago, if not a little bit longer, and it was in response to the disappearance of two girls. And it was I think back then it was a social media Facebook page that was opened up to try and get the community involved in the search for the girls. And essentially, I joined the group and said, what can I do? How can I bring attention to this? And a year later, the people who started the group, they didn't know that it would grow so quickly, and so they wanted to hand it over for management to a bunch of people, which we then started a board, and I became the chairman, and we had a number of other people who came on board. And 16 years or so later, I'm the only one of the initial board left that's still there. But we, one of my really good friends, one of my best mates, Thomas Dixon, is now the manager, and he hails from, he's a businessman who's owned many companies, so it's what he really does well. He's taken over to help manage, and he does a sterling job of running Missing Children South Africa, which essentially is a bridge between the community and the authorities when a child goes missing for any reason whatsoever, which happens way too often in this country. So often that it would scare people if they knew.
It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I understand that it's at that critical moment, those key phases of that terrifying journey where you guys step in and need infrastructure. Just very quickly, what do you need for this organization right now as a call to action? How can people help you in that sense?
The most important thing I want to bring across is do not wait 24 hours when a child goes missing. It's a major misconception around the country. You can wait 20 seconds and that's too long. So the minute a child goes missing, contact either the South African Police Service or us. What we do is we guide you through the process. We know exactly what needs to happen, what you need. You need to get a case number. We only work on official cases. We work with the South African Police Service and other authorities. And what we do is we make sure that everything that can be done is being done as soon as possible. Because like physical trauma, an accident situation, the quicker you can get working and to the scene, the better for whoever's involved. And so that's so important for me. And then, of course, we rely on public donations. We are a non-profit organization. The whole board, everyone works for free except one person. The only person that gets paid is our national operator. And everyone else does it because it's a labor of love. So we rely on the goodwill of people.
and critical skills in critical places. And I love that. I love that focus. missingchildren.org.za is where you can go and support.
And I'm sure this really hits home to you because, I mean, you're a father of two beautiful girls, Shayla and Eva. They're 10 and 12. It feels like just the other day that we were born. How has fatherhood been? How's the journey been, being able to raise these two beautiful girls?
Yeah, well, I mean, any parent will tell you that life has just never been the same again.
Before and after.
Before and after, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think it's a facet of existence that you won't be able to understand and that you miss out hugely on. Just like many other things in life, you can't experience everything in life, but one of the great things, if you're blessed to experience, is parenthood. It really does change you. Changes your perspective. And of course, my girls, Eva and Shay, they're wonderful. We're so blessed by them. And yeah, I mean, you'll see they're looking away from camera. We keep them, we always keep them, their faces. We want to give them anonymity for the rest, for up until the point where they decide if they want to or not. It's a burden and a blessing at the same time. So I want them to be able to make that choice.
I understand that. I've got to ask you this because someone who matters so much to me is about to embark on an adoption process, and now she's found her match and she's about to take that step.
Congratulations.
And yeah, congratulations to her. I've got to ask, what has that journey been like from a father's perspective, and what advice do you have for a new parent who's about to follow in your footsteps?
Well, anyone who's had, kids naturally and then adopted will tell you that there's absolutely no difference. So let me just put anyone's heart at ease that within seconds, that little person becomes your flesh and blood.
Because in every way, there's something else. There's something else.
There's something that happens. There's a difference between relatives and family. And I think if you can have both in the same, it's great. But you don't need the one for the other. And so it's important to remember that it's about that time that you spend. It's about that bonding. And it's about knowing that it was meant to be that way. And I think that's something I want to tell people who struggle to conceive. One thing that we took about 4 years to realize, which we wish we'd realized sooner, was that if you can't conceive naturally, that's probably because there's another plan for you. And if you do the math, you'll find that people who can't conceive naturally, if they all adopted 2 kids, there'd be quite an incredible balance of orphans and people who can't conceive. So I always tell people, just think about this. You might have a different path. And Christy and I often say, we would never, if we could go back and change it, we wouldn't. In fact, when we wanted a second child, 2 years after Eva, instead of going through the whole rigmarole of trying naturally, which we apparently still could have done, we said, let's just adopt again. It was so amazing, and there's another little person out there. And then Shay came into our lives, and she was just the perfect fit as well. So now we are this family that we just indulge in one another all the time. And that's what it's supposed to be, isn't it?
A beautiful family indeed. But you're not all serious. It is Father's Day over the weekend, and we have some dad jokes sharing amongst everyone.
Yeah.
Do you have a dad joke for us?
I know, I don't do dad jokes, but I'll tell you what, as much as we try to diversify their interests, our kids are actors.
No!
We're always playing characters, so our house is full of accents and characters, and we scare each other. Myself and my daughters especially, we're not allowed to scare Christy because her reactions are just too wild. She throws things.
She'll punch you in the face.
She'll take you out, But myself and Eva and Shay are always hiding around a corner somewhere, trying to see who can scare the others, the other person, and they're getting really good at it, I must say.
Buddy, can I just say something? Because I've had, always seeing you is my whole past comes back to me because we've walked a parallel path for decades now in this industry. But I actually met you before you were in the industry.
Goodness.
And I remember you saying to me, I always imagine you in a sailor's outfit. I don't know if you had a sailor's suit on at the time, but I know you were coming from a very different world. And when you made the connection, you were like, I want to do that. I'm going to get there. I'm going to put myself on TV. You said it to me before you had even done this. Look at what you have achieved, my friend. You really are one of the best at what you do, and we are so proud of you, bro. The fact that you come from our little family makes us even more proud. So we love you, guys. Happy Father's Day, man. Happy Father's Day. Before I start crying again, let's continue and get back in the kitchen.